The game has ended. Well, the game has ended. The game ended yesterday. West Ham back to it. Well, West Ham do best after 17 days of disappointing and ruining everyone's week. No, not quite ruining, but wasn't great, was it? It was really not good. Graham Potter, I think, deserves a lot of criticism after yesterday. And I think he's losing faith in a lot of people's faith very, very quickly. Again, he seems to be another manager who's all talk and no bite. You know what I mean? He talks the talk, but he don't walk the walk. Obviously, the starting lineup came out. I was quite excited. I thought it was a really good lineup. However, I sort of think when it came out that if we go into this with the same attitude we got into the last few games, of sort of just sit back and just let the game go as it is, this lineup isn't going to work, and that is exactly what happened. I don't think the lineup was terrible. Some people are saying it was a really bad decision to start that lineup. I think there were some problems with it. I can sort of understand that maybe it wasn't the best idea to start Scars and Guillaume next to each other. I think it was maybe a little bit unfair to both, because I think it meant both were being a little bit cautious and they were a little bit unsure of each other, because obviously they're both quite young, quite new to sort of senior football. So they were maybe a little bit hesitant to take risks because they didn't want to put the other one in a bad position. I think you could see that. I didn't think a lot of people say Scars didn't have a good game. I don't think Wan-Bissaka had a good first half either. Right? I think Scars was better in the second half as well. I think that something wasn't working with the wing backs. Potter saw it, because at one point he called both of them over when we had the corner, just before we hit the corner, saying sort of like, and he was saying so to them. So he'd obviously noticed that it was just something that was not working for either the wing backs or whatever the system we were playing or whatever we were trained to do. It wasn't really working. And again, I thought when he got on the ball, he looked pretty good and he looks dangerous. He didn't do anything wrong in that game, which is, the least you can ask for, really, when you're sort of this new to sort of senior football. The least you can ask for is don't do anything wrong. I think it was the signs that he could be a really good player, in my opinion, right? Potter said he's been good in training, and I didn't think he was bad. I think he was a bit harsh to sub me at half time. I wouldn't have done. I think he showed enough in the first half that actually, if we'd have been a bit more on the front foot, a bit more sensible in possession, he would have picked up a lot in the second half. I think if he'd have been in that second half, I think he would have been much better than Soler. Not slightly Soler, but I just think Soler isn't a winger. He was sort of playing very narrow, which then meant we were very one-sided. And because we were very one-sided, we struggled to get the ball through their sort of block, because they were only able to defend half the pitch, right? So they had 11 players against like 3, 4, 5, 6 players. They were always going to stop that. Back to the first half. Yeah, I think the attack was awful. Not the attackers' fault. I think the system we were playing, it felt Lopetegui-esque. Like the players didn't really seem to know what they were doing. Ferguson was drifting up to the left, so Guillaume was then going up front, which he never really looked comfortable doing. Bowen was sort of just playing really wide, but then sometimes come really narrow. They played all over the place, and I don't think that was their fault. I think that was what they'd been told to do. It didn't work. It looked messy. No one really knew what they were doing. People looked lost. Lopetegui-esque. That I would not be surprised if we hear a story that they changed tactics last minute or something like that. I'm just glad Kudus wasn't in it, to be honest, because again, if he'd have been in there, I think we would have been in proper trouble, because we would have lost the ball a hell of a lot more than we did. And I think the few sort of times we did break forward, we would have missed. Obviously, Ferguson missed an absolute sitter. I wasn't happy about that. I'm still not happy about that. It was a good chance. People saying the ball was behind him. I think it must be something with his running, which sounds harsh, but, and this isn't me defending, but I'm just the only person who the ball. This is like the second or third time now that's happened to him, but it doesn't happen to everyone else. It's just specifically him, which does make me think that his runs aren't very good. Oh, and I made the Arsenal series miss as well, where it was straight to his feet and he still missed it. So yeah, I'm not convinced by Ferguson. I don't think he should play again. I would send him back tonight. Last night I would have sent him back on the train. You know what I mean? The 10 p.m. train to Penzance, is that still by Friday? Maybe. But yeah, no. It was awful. Awful first half. The defence was dreadful. Kilman, mistake for the goal. Don't know what he was doing. Just walks into a complete empty bit of space, leaving the pitch quite wide open. and maybe Cresswell should have just filled in the space for him. But again, Cresswell wasn't paying attention to what Kilman was doing. He's normally quite reliable. I mean, he was doing some flicks and tricks in the first half, Kilman. But again, that was just dreadful. You know what I mean? And people are going to sit there slaughter Mavropanos. He did nothing wrong. If anything, he did everything right. He committed, got the ball like he should have done. Where our midfield was, I don't know, because then it went straight back to Wolves player with no contention whatsoever. And then he just had a short goal. They scored. Kilman, nowhere to be seen. Just standing behind Mavropanos. I don't know what he's doing. Again, he's not as perfect as some people would like to make him out to be. Not a slight on him. He isn't. He does make too many mistakes, in my opinion. More mistakes than he gets accredited. I don't think the midfield worked in the first half. I thought Jones Prowse, he had energy. He was running. He was putting in a shift, but he looked like he was a second behind the game. Like every time he would get to a player to sort of on a press where he could about to win, he was a second too late to get there. Or in the interception, he would just miss it. He was just missing everything. It was a bad game from him. I'll admit that, but like it didn't look as bad as I thought it did because he kept getting close. You know what I mean? If he'd have been getting to these balls a second, he would have had a phenomenal game, right? He would have been everywhere, locking down the pitch everywhere, right? He definitely tried, but again, I think just he was stretched a little bit thin because there was only two of them. Same with Paqueta in the first half. Paqueta was awful as well. Right, he lost the ball once or twice. He looked to try and make things happen, but he clearly wasn't. He had that 1-2 with Guillermo, it was really good. And actually, I probably would have had James Ward-Prowse and Paqueta switch sides, so Paqueta could have worked with Guillermo. Right, rather than Paqueta be on the right, I would have had him on the left. I think it would just helped both sides. But yeah, it wasn't a great first half, but you could see. I think it would have worked if we'd be a bit more on the front foot, personally, and maybe if we'd have dropped a midfielder, dropped a defender for a midfielder. And in the second half, I think I can't fault anybody because everybody put in an absolute shift. Right, I just want to say that first and foremost, they did what we should expect from them, putting a shift, right, which I know should be the bare minimum. But there's been too many games this season or last year really, where people have just we've been goal down and people have just given up, and then we got battered, or they just lost their heads or just lost their total troops or whatever, and it's just fallen to pieces. That didn't happen today. Put in an absolute shift. I was really impressed actually with the effort for the entire second half. We were playing on 100%. Right, people were running their socks off. You know, not just bowing. It's not like it usually is, but it was just sort of bowing. You know, James Ward-Prowse and Thomas Tuchel. It was everyone. It was Paqueta. It was Alvarez. It was Fulkrug. It was Mavropanos, Kilman, Skiles. Obviously goes without saying really because he's a West Ham boy, but everyone was running their socks off, and I just want to give them credit for that. But it just wasn't going to happen. As soon as Wolves go into a no block, we ain't scoring, right? Because we just can't break a team down. We've never been able to break a team down, and we never probably will break a team down. It just looked like every time someone got the ball, they had to sort of get past one or two people, and you were going to have to do a bit more than just pass it. You were going to have to try and dribble to get around them. So it was a lot of passive possession, right? Which flatters the possession stats really, because in possession we weren't that great, but Wolves just let us have it. You know what I mean? So were we that great? No. I thought Paqueta was phenomenal in the second half. I thought he was doing the flicks and the tricks, and he was doing them well. He wasn't losing the ball, he was keeping the ball. And actually, there was one point where he had like 4 Wolves players running around in circles trying to get the ball off him. You know what I mean? And okay, in the end, it didn't quite really amount to anything, but it was just things like that were keeping him on their toes. He was getting stuck in. He wasn't making reckless challenges. He was getting stuck in, and he gave away a foul or two, but he didn't get booked for it. You know what I mean? He was doing it sensibly. He was being calm. He was very level-headed, and he was very. That was the Paqueta that should be playing at Man City. Right? He looked levels above some players yesterday. There was times where he would sort of go to pass it to someone and they sort of not run when they should have done, or they've not really taken a very good touch. And you could see him getting you could see why Man City want him. You could see that he's too good for this team at points, right? He's much better, levels above some of the players around us. I don't think Bowen was as bad as some people making out. You know, he made a couple chances. It wasn't his best game, no. But again, he did sort of the best he could, really. right, I thought Falkirk was decent. I think I would have rather maybe drop deep a little bit more and try and get involved a bit more. But again, it was good that he was in the box constantly. There was a target to hit. I don't think the Souček chance was as good as some people were making out. The Emerson was offside. I think Scarlett was slightly improved in the second half. Right, I think the better structure. He was sort of a little bit more comfortable. Alvarez, I thought, ran his socks off. Really, it was a decent performance. Again, it's hard to say anyone was amazing. Because obviously we lost and we didn't even come close to score. Honestly, we didn't come close to score. We never really looked like scoring. One shot on target is quite generous to be, in my opinion. Anybody else that's worth talking about? No, I just think it wasn't great from Potter. Again, it looked like he didn't really know how to sort the team out and get them scoring. Like, even when he's put, we had Soler, Paqueta, Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, Bowen, Falkirk, and we're not even coming close to scoring a goal, and that's worrying. That's really worrying. Because obviously if we can't score, you can keep a clean sheet. We can't keep clean sheets and we can't score. Right. That is really concerning, because we're going to play Bournemouth this weekend. I can't see us winning that game. I just can't. If I were at home, and I would genuinely, if we keep it under 3-0, I think we've surprised ourselves, which sounds mental, because it's Bournemouth. There's some tiny little club from the fucking South Coast. They've got a 10,000 seater stadium, you know what I mean? And they're going to probably beat us. It's just a bit depressing, really. And I think people are going to sit and go, well, we can't play any other way, but I just disagree. You look at, so you've got managers who have, okay, so Pereira's made Wolves look a lot better than they were, right? Wolves have some decent players, but again, so do we. You know what I mean? Carlos Corberán, he's gone to Valencia, I saw the other day, the ex-West Brom manager. They got 7 points when he came in. They're now out of the relegation zone. And they've got 25 points since he got there. He's done an absolute miracle with them. The only teams he's lost to Real Madrid, Barcelona. He's won 7, drawn 4, lost 4. That's a really good record. Again, I would love him. Structured build-up. Very solid at the back. Great manager. We should have gone for him. Sacked Lopetegui in July. July? That would have been a bit harsh. Sacked Lopetegui in December, when we originally were going to get Corban, and would have been a good performance, I think. What else happened? Oh, so, yeah, it just wasn't great, was it? They had a couple of chances at the end. Areola was good. He made a couple of really good saves. He got really close to their goals as well, to be fair. But they deserved the goal. They had a few really close chances. I really liked what I saw for Pereira, actually. Him really cheering up the crowd, waving his arms come on, let's kick on, let's carry the team over the line, you know what I mean? That was really good. Really nice to see, and they love him. They were chanting his name all the way outside, and I can understand why. Right? Heard about him being in all the pubs and stuff. He just seems to really try and get the fans on his side, whereas Potter seems to just not be that interested. We have some big issues, and I'm genuinely concerned. People are saying, I'll give him till next season, but I just don't see enough evidence to suggest it's going to change. You know what I mean? You look at the player you wanted, Evan Ferguson, he's been terrible. You don't want to play him. Right? And he's lying about him not being fit, he's trying to save face. That's a really Moisey thing to do. As much as people are going to say, well, don't criticise Moyes, he had his faults, and that was one of them. Is he would make mistakes, and he would never really accept that he made a mistake. He would always try and come up with a reason as to why it wasn't his fault. He wouldn't learn from his mistakes either. 1 week something wouldn't work, we'd go and do it the same thing next week. It's why are we doing that? We know it doesn't work, and it wouldn't work. At least Lopetegui would sort of accept when something didn't work and move on. And he would accept when he made a mistake and make subs. That was the one good thing, is Potter did make subs yesterday. It surprised me a little bit. I almost expected him not to. because he hasn't so far really, when things haven't been working. I just think we need something, right? Something to tell us, look, next season, just give us till next season. You know, I think it was Hamstring was saying, like, he's got worse. We got worse since he's been here, and I agree. We have got worse. Every game we've got worse, in my opinion. Which I think is true and it isn't true, because I think we obviously had that period a few weeks ago where we had Arsenal, who had no attack, and Leicester, who were like the worst team in the league. Like, of course, we're going to look better in those two games when we're just defending. But I can see what it means. Like, we haven't looked dangerous going forward since we played Villa. And like when we played Villa, obviously, that was when we still had sort of Lopetegui's sort of attacking coaching, right? And actually, the last game under Lopetegui was against Man City. We looked really lethal going forwards, like quite creative. We made a few chances, we just didn't finish them. And actually, we couldn't defend in that game. Like, let's not. But he had us attacking. Like, you always want to get both of them, don't you? You want to get Graham Potter coaching the defence, and you want to get Lopetegui coaching the attack. You know, two managers. That'd be an interesting one, wouldn't it? I wonder if they'd get on. In fact, neither of them got where Tim started and suggested me. Probably not. But yeah, we got a big summer ahead of us. Personally, I'm sort of wishing we had got Lopetegui on Graham Potter on a 6-month deal, because I think actually that would have been. Again, it always concerned me that he didn't want that, right? Because that suggested to me he didn't back himself to do a good job, right? It suggested he didn't think that with this squad he was going to be any good. And if you can't do it with this squad, I'm a little bit apprehensive to give you a load of money to come build your own. Because actually, look at what they bought at Chelsea when he was there. He spent a lot of money there January. Not a lot of them were very good. And again, I don't know. You know, I'm just apprehensive. But give him the chance and we'll see what happens, I guess.